I'm not even gonna lie, you guys. I haven't done a YouTube video. I need to check my YouTube, but I think it's been over a year, so I feel like just like anything, I'm like not used to it. Like I'm trying to look at the camera, but I'm looking at myself, but I'm looking at the camera. So I'm gonna do my best. It does feel a little out of my comfort zone again, but that might just be just because life lately has completely been out of my comfort zone. But I think life will sometimes throw you out of your comfort zone when there is growth that needs to be manifested. So, anyways, you guys, welcome back. My name is Africa G, and this is my YouTube channel. I don't even know why I'm making an intro like that. I just think it's so funny because back in the day, my intros used to be like, "What's up, everybody? This is Africa G," and I, in a way, miss those times because they remind me of like an old me, and I wish I could give that person a hug. But I feel like my life has really shifted and changed in the last, I want to say, drastically changed in the last 2 to 3 years, but even more in the last 3 months. And this is the whole reason why I'm actually doing this video, is to kind of like inform you guys on what has been going on, because what the hell? What the hell? I'll say that. So I just want to say, trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about mental health issues. I'll be talking about health issues. And I say trigger warning because I want to be very vulnerable and talk to you guys with like no filter. And the reason I'm doing this on YouTube is because I feel like if you went on my Instagram and you took the time to go to my YouTube, then you're either someone that actually cares or actually wants to know what was going on, or you've just been like my day one. And this is really just for my day ones, and this is really just for anyone that lands in this video and is going through something similar. I try to be on Instagram this very positive person. I feel like in the world there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of negative energy, that whenever I post on my social media, I try to be positive, motivational, give some insights on health or on anything that can benefit someone, right? So that's kind of always been what I've tried to share. However, life isn't always peaches and cream. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Life will sometimes drag you by your feet and like keep you there for some time. That's exactly what happened to me. I will say that these last 3 months have probably been the most difficult. I won't say worse. I was saying worse, but truly I feel like there's a blessing in every hardship and every bump of the road. There's always a lesson to be learned. And I truly, now that I'm kind of getting out of everything I went through, I'm kind of seeing that. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what happened, how that shifted me, and where I'm at right now. So these last 3 months have been really difficult. It was the end of January, beginning of February. I was driving on the freeway, and I was driving on the freeway, and it was raining, and I felt like my throat was like really dry, and so I was like trying to like swallow. It got like itchy. I'm like coughing, and but I wasn't sick. I didn't wake up sick. There was no signs of me being sick at all. But I felt like uncomfortable in my throat, and then I kept like trying to swallow, but that's not naturally what we do. Like naturally we don't swallow that many times, and so I'm like trying to swallow because I felt really dry and itchy. And I told Anthony if he can pass me a water bottle, and he's like, we don't have no water. So when he said we didn't have no water, I like freaked out, and I was in the carpool lane driving, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. And I tried to keep swallowing, and I think that caused, like, for the first time ever in my life, like a huge panic attack, because I felt like my throat had closed on me. I can't tell you if it really did or if it didn't, or if I caused it, or if it was my mind, or if I was scared. Like, I can't distinguish either or. But what I do know is I was in the carpool lane and I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I swerved out of the carpool lane into like that little space on the freeway. And I started coughing and like coughing so bad that I almost threw up. And so I freaked out. My eyes were super watery, and I was like, what just happened? And I was like freaking out, and I told Anthony, oh my gosh, I don't know what just happened. And that's kind of the start of it. And so I got home, and my aunt was home dog sitting, and I told her what had happened, and she's like, I don't think that's normal. Like, and I'm like, I think I'm just getting sick. I need a tea. And then the next day I woke up and like there was no sign of sore throat, no sign of nothing. So I'm like, maybe it was just, I don't know, just dry. And so that basically happened like 2 more times where I felt like my throat dry. And it was like during yoga and during like the sound healing thing that I did where I like lay completely down and I felt like my throat was like really dry. And I can explain the feeling like when you are sick, but usually with like a congested nose or like you're sick and you're coughing at night and it feels so dry, it feels like you're gonna like choke. That's exactly how it felt. However, with me, it was that exact same sensation without the runny nose, without like a fever, without being sick. So I was like, that's just weird. Am I sick? Am I not sick? Like, what's going on? Because I feel just fine. So then it happened to me once. I was at the gym. I started feeling like that, that real dryness. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And so I ended up leaving the gym early because I was like, I just need to go home, make myself a tea, like shower with like hot water because I feel like that always makes me breathe better. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so I left and there was so much traffic. Like it's like that LA traffic where like your car is not moving. And so I was freaking out because I was drinking all the water, but I felt like the water wasn't helping. So I called Anthony and I was kind of freaking out and I'm like, hey, my throat is like doing the same thing. I'm like really scared. Like I feel like it's gonna close on me. Once again, I can't tell you guys if I was just super anxious about the first experience where I swerved out of the freeway or if I was like, what's going on? Like I'm not used to this. Usually if I have like a throat something, I'm like sick, but I just felt completely fine. And so I was like, what the hell is going on? And so sure enough, like 5 minutes into me driving, I feel like my throat is closing and I start coughing and I start like gagging because I feel like I'm like gonna throw up because I feel like my whole throat. And at that moment I was so scared because I thought I was gonna die. It feels like you're gonna die, right? So I wasn't really gonna die, but it felt like it and I was so scared. I called Anthony crying and I'm like, it happened again. I'm on my way to emergencies. And so I didn't know the difference between urgent care and emergencies. I just saw urgent and I'm like, I'm going there. It was 3 minutes away from where I was. And I drive there and I like get out the car and I'm like, I can't breathe. Like my throat closed and they're like trying to calm me down. And I see a doctor and I explain to her everything. She looks at my throat. She looks at my nose and she's like, you don't have any sign of an infection. You don't have any sign of being sick. It sounds like an allergy reaction. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not allergic to anything. Like there's no allergy. I've never been allergic to anything. So like, I'm just afraid because she was like, you can go home. We're going to culture it. So like they like did a swab. She's like, we're going to see what's going on. But it doesn't look like from right off the bat, it doesn't look like an infection. And I'm like, I'm just scared. Like, how am I supposed to go home? What if on my drive home it happens to me again? And I'm like freaking out. And she was like, you can go to emergencies. And I was like, wait, what's the difference? And she's like, emergencies, they can like x-ray you. They can like check if it's an abscess, if there's something stuck in your throat. They can check all of that. So there I go, make my way to emergencies. And I was just there like my throat, which I felt like I was dying. And I say that because I truly was just so scared. And I don't think anything has ever scared me in my life like that. Because I felt like there was like no real answer. And I was just afraid that it would happen to me again. And so I ended up going to emergencies. They did x-rays on my throat. When the doctor saw me, she was like, there's no signs of infection. They're like the same thing that urgent care had said. She's like, you know what? Let me do an x-ray on you. They did an x-ray on me. They're like, everything looks normal. Everything looks fine. And then I'm just like, look, because she was like, you can go home. And I'm like, look, like, I'm a very strong-minded person. I am a very healthy person. However, like, I feel like my throat is really, really dry. And she's like, it could be allergies. And I'm like, but I've never been allergic to anything. And she's like, look, go to your, so then I told her, I'm like, do you think it has anything related to do with a reoccurring staph infection? The reason I brought that up is because I had been dealing with an ongoing staph infection that I had been having for 2 weeks after my wedding, I got a huge staph, and basically what it is just bacteria gets into a cut or a wound or something, and it turns into like this infection, and it's like extremely stubborn. And basically, they put me on a very strong antibiotic. It went away, but it would come back after like 3 months, and then or 2 to 3 months it'd come back. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, but it wouldn't come back as a boil. It'd just come like, I'm itchy in my nose, like what's going on? So I'd go to an ENT, which is ear, nose, throat specialist, who I've been working with for like 2 years for any like cold or anything like that. He'd always be my doctor. He's like my doctor specialized in that field. And he'd be like, you came back positive for staph again. And I'd be like, okay. He's like, let's put you on a stronger antibiotic. And so I'd get on a stronger antibiotic, and then it'd come back 2 to 3 months again, and I'd be like, I'm back for the same reason. And I want to say 4 rounds of that, but it would go away and it would come back. And so I told her, and I'm like, I've been dealing with like a weird staph infection that won't go away completely. Like it'll go away for 2 months and then it'll come back. It'll go away and it'll come back. And I'm like, I don't know, like it'll give me rashes on my face sometimes. And she was like, that's not really supposed to happen with staph. She was like, and this is where like I feel like my whole world's just like, this is where everything started. And she said, do you have any family that has ever had lupus? And I was like, yeah. And the reason why that was extremely scary is because I have had family from my grandmother's side. Her sister's 2 daughters have lupus. And so I've always heard that term in my family. It's always been like this thing where it's like, oh, you know, when I said yes, she's like, okay, I want to do you some labs for lupus. And my heart dropped. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. It just takes me back to that time where I felt like they had told me you have lupus. And I'm not going to take you guys through this journey of like, does she not? I don't. But at that moment, I didn't know that I didn't. All I knew is that my throat kept closing on me. I knew that I was getting rashes on my face, and I knew that no amount of antibiotic was helping my staph go away. And I started freaking out. I experienced a complete, I think it's called like a nervous breakdown. It's a panic attack where I started shaking. I started feeling like my life was over. So this is why it took me so long to do this video. I went to go see my ENT, and they did a bunch of labs, a bunch of studies. I went to my primary care doctor. I did a bunch of blood work, a bunch of studies, and basically they were telling me like, your labs look very healthy. Everything looks extremely healthy. There's nothing really, you know, going on. They didn't find any staph, anything really. Like there was like nothing at the moment. But I had just finished some antibiotics from staph. So like I said, it would always go away, but it'd find its way back. And so my ENT was like, you know what, you have a throat infection. So he gave me more antibiotics. This is my 5th round on antibiotics. And so I was like, so why did the emergency room lady and the urgent care lady say that I didn't have staph? Like, that I didn't have an infection or anything in my throat. And he's like, well, clearly your throat is irritated and you can see it. I don't know how they didn't see that. When I went to my primary doctor from Kaiser, because this is my ENT, so ear, nose, throat specialist. Then I go to my primary doctor, and she was like, you know what, your throat is irritated, and so is your nose in the back. I'm thinking it's nasal drip. She's like, it's just seasonal allergies that people get, that people don't know, that there's no way of like kind of curing it in a way. It's just seasonal allergies. It's just something you have to live with. She said, but we can do allergy tests. So she sent out a lab for me to do allergy tests. I went to this allergen doctor, and they did all these tests, and sure enough, a few days later, they tell me that I have no allergies. So that made me really sad, because I'm like, fuck, I thought it was allergies. And if it would have just been allergies, I could have lived with that, right? but they told me it wasn't. When my culture came back, these cultures, it's like where they get a little bit of whatever it is and then they like send it to a lab. So they called me a week after that and they said all your cultures came out clear. So then I started bawling my eyes out. I'm like, my ENT told me that I had an infection, but then everything came back clear. And I'm like, what is it? Like, these doctors don't know what I have, and like I'm freaking out because I think of the stress and because I felt like it has to be lupus then, because I explained to them both how emergencies told me that I needed to check for lupus, and both my doctors were like, no, like emergency people just see all kind of crazy cases and like you don't have to worry about that. But I was like, I still want to check because now it's in the back of my mind and I want to make sure. And so during this, prior to all of this, I had seen a holistic doctor. I had gone to her because I'm a stubborn staph infection. It won't go away. I'm tired of taking so many antibiotics. They fuck up your stomach. Like, I just want to go with someone that will get to the root cause of it. And when I went to her, she's like, oh, we will definitely get to the root cause of it. Antibiotics will only mess up your stomach. And I want to check your hormones, any molds in your body. I want to check it for parasites. I want to check your gut flora. I want to check your bacterial balance in your gut. I want to check for your immunity responses. I want to, like, they check food allergens. They check extensive environmental allergens. They check for toxins. They check for I don't know if I said this, but hormones. So I got a bunch of these tests done 2 weeks prior to that, which was a bunch of blood taken out, my ENT, and then with my primary care doctor, they took a bunch of vials of blood out. And I just feel like I got way too much blood taken out to where I felt weak. Like, I felt like I couldn't get up out of bed without feeling like dizzy or like, and maybe it was all mental and I was physically manifesting these symptoms, but I just felt like I couldn't do this. And I felt like I had something more serious or severe, and I was just so scared. And I was like, how am I going to live? How am I going to continue my business? How am I going to be a mom one day? How am I going to live like this? Like, this is not a way of living. There was so much fear in my heart. I couldn't eat. Eating anything would just hurt my stomach. I was like gagging the whole time, which is called like dry heaving. I was dry heaving the whole time. I was just in such a state of stress. I started experiencing anxiety severely, and it would come out of nowhere. And I had never in my life experienced anxiety at this level. There's a natural form of anxiety when you're super excited and you're gonna do something, or when you're about to get on a roller coaster, or when you're about to go on stage. There's that normal anxiety, and that, of course, I felt. It's anxiety exists in all of us and we all experience it. However, this form of anxiety, which I want to say is more like mental anxiety, I had never experienced in my life. I heard people talking about I suffer from anxiety and things like that, but I always thought that it was just like that feeling of what I felt when I'm nervous to get on a roller coaster. But this was completely different. This anxiety was debilitating. I started being afraid of going out. I started feeling like I couldn't do anything without Anthony. So Anthony couldn't leave the house because I was like, what if I die while he's out? So Anthony couldn't even go to the gym unless there was someone with me. And I had never seen myself like that, at that level of depression. And I was at my worst. I felt like all these symptoms and I couldn't figure out what it was. And when you have these medical professionals that you look up to and they can't tell you what it is, it's an extremely scary feeling. So because they weren't able to give me answers, I reached out to my holistic doctor, and I was just like basically telling her what was going on, and she ordered me some more blood work, and of course the autoimmune test. And she did tell me sometimes it comes back positive, but it doesn't mean that there's anything specifically autoimmune disease related. It could just be that you have inflammation in your body and it reads that. That test took 2 to 3 weeks to come back, and within those 2 to 3 weeks, I believe the stress I was putting on my body made me even physically more sick. And I got the results, and it came back negative for lupus or any related disease, but it came back positive for an autoimmune reaction. But in a way, it just made me question, like, what is my body reacting to? And is this the reason why the staph won't fully go away permanently and it'll keep coming back? And why does my stomach feel weird, and why is my throat feeling weird, and what's really going on. And so I wasn't able to work out or go to the gym because one, I had terrible anxiety, and I want to say it's health anxiety. It was health anxiety related. Like, I was afraid of going to the gym because I felt so weak. I felt like my blood pressure would really drop. And so when I would go to the gym, sometimes I think I try to go like once or twice throughout this, and when I went, I would feel like dizzy, or I'd feel extremely weak, and I'm just like, I don't think I can push my body right now. I just need to like relax. And during this time, like I mentioned, I had never really dealt with anxiety or depression severely like that. During that time, my stomach health got a lot worse. So I was starting to wake up every morning and start throwing up acid. So like when you get drunk and you're throwing up and then you just throw up like this liquid. So I was throwing that up every morning. I was in a lot of physical pain in my stomach. My stomach would just curl and hurt. For that reason, I lost all my appetite, but I also knew I had to eat. So I was forcing myself to eat. And I hated anytime I got time to eat because I knew I had to, for one, experience pain. For two, I had no appetite. And for three, like, it was uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable feeling in my gut and my stomach. And I wasn't able to really digest the food. It just felt, I just was in a lot of physical pain. And during this time, I went to go see my ENT, my ear, nose, and throat doctor, put me on 2 rounds of antibiotics. And I think that did it for me. My stomach gave up. And he said, you know what? You cleared, for sure, any throat thing you had, you cleared it. But you need to go to a GI doctor because it might be that you have acid reflux. Because I would go into like the doctor visits and I'd be like, like I'd be like dry heaving. And he was like, you might have acid reflux. So he put me on an anti-acid reflux diet. He said, you need to go see a GI doctor. He's one of the best in California, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. And so I went. So at this point, the only time I'm leaving my house, which is like every other day, is for doctor appointment, doctor visits, doctor calls, prescriptions, and just a bunch of that stuff. And with my holistic doctor, she made me do like urine samples, stool samples. And so I ended up doing all those tests, but those tests take like 2 to 3 weeks to get results. So during those 2 to 3 weeks, there's not much to do besides just wait for those results. During that time, I saw a GI doctor, and he did more blood work on me. And he told me that everything came out fine. And he said, you know what, I think that you're experiencing the severe stomach pain from anxiety. So I want you to see an anxiety specialist that deals with gut health. I was like, okay. He's like, look, with that acid reflux, take these Prilosec. It's like a Pepcid or like a Tums, but like a stronger one. He's like, take this every day. I take it every morning. And, like, I'm fine. I live with it. It's just part of like the human body, which I felt kind of weird because I'm like, I don't want to be dependent on anything for the rest of my life. But he's a GI doctor and he's westernized and he's one of the best, right? Which I don't think he's not. It's just different ideologies and it's not truly what I believe in. I ended up doing the endoscopy and nothing came back like completely overall healthy stomach. But during that same week, we had gotten results back from my stool test. And what had came out was all the answers, I believe, and my doctor believes, right? So some of the things that came out were a fungal overgrowth. So fungus in your stomach, in your body. H. pylori. H. pylori is this bacteria that people get from tap water, third world countries, contaminated fish, or anything, and it can turn into stomach cancer. I had some of that. I had overgrowth of bacteria in my stomach. Just have to have good and bad bacteria, but my good bacteria was this amount, and my this amount, and my bad bacteria was like up to here. So I had immense amounts of bad bacteria in my gut. My immune system defenders, the IgAs, they're the ones that help heal, protect you, were almost non-existent. And so when I had mold in my body, some toxins in my body. And so I had a lot of these things, right? And the good thing about this all was that it was nothing severely dangerous. The overgrowth of bacteria is called SIBO, H. pylori, fungal overgrowth, mold. So it's just like toxins. And so once I got the answers, it gave me this peace. But that wasn't over yet. The solution was to get on an elemental diet, which is a liquid diet, which is this powder that is just built of minerals, amino acids, and vitamins. Basically only the things that your body needs. And you drink that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you do that for 14 days. That gives your body a reset. It gives your organs able to rest, and then it kills off all the bad bacteria. Some of the good ones too, but mainly the bad ones. And after that, you get on like a 6 to 12 week supplement, natural herbs of a finish of a kill off stage. So you kind of just get rid of all the bacteria, all the fungus, all the mold, and then we reintroduce the good bacteria into your body. So the throat stuff was so what we believe to have happened, my doctor explaining this to me, is that because of the staph infection, their solution was always antibiotic. So by the time I had gotten at my worst, I had gone on 6 to 7 rounds of strong antibiotic in a span of like 8 months. I think it was 6 in a span of 8 months. And 3 in the last 3 months, for say when everything was going kind of bad. And so what that did was it messed up my stomach flora. It completely messed up my gut health, completely. Doesn't matter how healthy you eat, doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym, it doesn't matter what you do. When you're on so much antibiotic, your stomach is going to not be in a good balance. And guess what makes it worse? Stress. And guess what? I was under a lot of stress related, mentally related, because when your gut health is not healthy, your mind is not healthy. There is a gut and brain connection that is extremely, extremely powerful. There are neurons that connect directly to our brain, to our heart, to our gut. 95% of our gut produces serotonin, which is our happy hormone. So when this is not good, this will never be good. And it doesn't matter how healthy you try to be, if you're under a lot of stress, it's only going to make it worse. And I know this to be a fact because whenever I would stress out, my pain would just spike. Especially right now that my nervous system was so sensitive from so many anxiety attacks and stuff. My mental health got so bad, I ended up seeing Almond Clinics, which is a psychiatric and neuroscience kind of clinic where they do brain scans to see your mental health and they formulate a plan. I truly do believe that they really saved me mentally, because not only did I have a doctor who was more like a actual neuroscience doctor on board, I had another naturopathic doctor who was kind of overseeing what my doctor was doing, and I had a therapist. At this time, I did end up getting an anxiety therapist. I ended up completely, and I'll get deeper into this, but I started going to church a lot because I felt like that's the only thing that would bring me peace. And it's been just crazy during this whole time. And so to finish the health, the actual with the health stuff that happened, my gut health was extremely horrible, and I truly believe that stress is the number one factor of all types of diseases, and your gut health also, because that's exactly kind of what functions everything else. And these are things I've been told by my doctor and things I've learned on my own. The great thing now is that we have some answers. We have some solution. I finished the elemental diet, which, like I said, is a 14-day diet, liquid diet, which was extremely hard mentally, just no food at all. But overall, I am working on my way to health. I am no longer doing any antibiotic at all, unless it's like life or death situation, and I'm strengthening my gut health. I'm getting rid of all the minor things that Western medicine won't check to be able to heal myself through eating healthy and clean. Overall, I am happy, I am healing, and I am working on my way towards health. And that's just like the physical part, right? This completely changed my life. For one, I had never really experienced such a mental breakdown. And it makes sense, your gut is not good and stress will make it worse. So it made me realize that also stress, there's 3 types of stresses. There's physical stress, there's emotional stress, and then there's environmental stress. Environmental stress can be like toxins in the air, things that we kind of don't have control over. Then we have emotional stress, which obviously is our emotions, our traumas, our triggers, our past, our future, things that we kind of inflict in ourselves. And then there's the physical stress. So if I break an ankle or if there's like something physically going on, I feel like I had all 3. Clearly I had the environmental because it showed up in my blood work. I was emotionally distraught. I was extremely hard on myself. Just felt like there's no way that I'm going through this. Why am I going through this? Why am I going through this? Like, this is not fair. Like, I feel like I try to do everything right. I feel like I try to be the best person I can be. Why is this happening to me? And I think that when I realized that I didn't have a relationship with God. And I know that this is not for everyone, but it is for me, and it made the biggest difference for me. I don't think I could have gotten through this without God. I would not have gotten through this without God, because God was the only person that gave me peace. It was like the only thing that grounded me and made me believe that there was a solution or that everything would be okay. I did have a support system like my family and my friends, which I'm extremely thankful for. But there was no one in those darkest times in my mind to silence all the voices in my head like God. And whenever I would go to church and I would cry and I would pray, I would feel like my symptoms would go away. And I would feel like I was like being held in a way. And for one, this strengthened my relationship with God at no other level that I think could have ever been any other way. And I do know that a lot of people get closer to God in difficult times, and I see why. You feel like you're drowning, and I felt like I was drowning. At the same time, I was having my grandpa battling for his life. At the same time, one of my really good friends, and this is my best friend's twin sister, was diagnosed at 28 years old with breast cancer, and she was fighting for her life too. She was in a lot of physical pain. She was undergoing chemo during these 3 months, and she started losing her hair, so she would call me crying, and it was just a lot. It was just a lot. Seeing someone that you truly love and admire, and a mom of 2 kids, and dealing with breast cancer is not easy. Having your grandfather dying at 66 years old, to me that's very young, was very difficult on me. Me not being able to feel strong enough to get up and go to the gym, which that to me was like an everyday thing, it was such part of my life, completely dragged me from my feet and knocked me down. And I didn't want to be on social media, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I didn't want to see anybody, and I didn't want to go out, and I didn't want to do anything. And it was extremely hard for me to fully share this deep because I was going through it. I don't think I have ever in my life gone through it that deep. I felt like there was no hope. I felt like I was going to be stuck like that forever. I thought my anxiety was going to be like that forever. I thought my depression was going to be like that forever. And then I realized that I had never ever dealt with my traumas from my childhood and growing up. And that was really hard. Ooh, when I started therapy, it was extremely hard because in your journey of healing, people don't talk about how difficult it can be, and having to relive things from my past and having to release, because when you store stress in your body, it'll manifest like a physical disease. And I think in a way that happened to me. I think I've always been the type to be like, no, it's okay. Oh yeah, I've been through this, but it's fine. Like, oh yeah, but you know, I'm good now. Like, but no, if you don't release all the pain that you've dealt with in your life, in your past, you will never fully heal. And I think the reason why God kind of made me, not he made me go through this, but a reason why this was part of the plan for me to go through was to self-reflect and to be able to release a lot of things, and to be able to be like, hey, is this the direction you really want to go in? Which wasn't a bad direction, but is it true to who I am at my core, or is it a trigger trauma related decision I'm making? If that makes sense. Some might understand, some might not, but I'll get deeper into that another time. But I just felt like mentally I was not okay. My doctors wanted to put me on antidepressants. I refused because I do not believe in any medication. I do not believe, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because I do know it's helped some people. I just felt like who I am at my core is someone that believes that nature can heal us, that God can heal us, that we can heal ourselves through God and through the natural stuff of earth. And yeah, and so mentally I'm doing so much better. I'm still in a journey of recovering, I think, from such a traumatic experience. But I'm so much better if I'm able to sit here and talk about it. Of course, I still get emotional because I think that it was an extremely difficult thing to go through. But the reason I wanted to share it is because sometimes I think that we look for answers within these doctors. We rely so much on these doctors to give us answers when sometimes we have the answers ourselves. And then I realized that health and what you eat and what you put in your body is extremely important. I realized that eating, for me, even though I ate healthy, and I did eat healthy, I never had a good relationship with food. Meaning that I was always on the thinner side, and I always looked at food like, ugh, I have to eat because I have to gain weight. You know, because I wanted to be thick or whatever, right? Or I wanted to put on major muscle and like X, Y, and Z. And just like, I always, like, for one, I didn't know how to cook. For two, I wouldn't grocery shop for myself. For three, my mom didn't know how to cook. Her mom didn't know how to cook, so I didn't grow up in that environment. We never got to sit at a dinner table without our phones, without TV, and just like talk as a family. And I kind of didn't follow any of that, you know, myself. I've been married for 4 years, and we never really sat down at the dinner table to eat like a family. Like, that's just like not what we did. And I realized that the importance of that, the importance of being off social media when you eat, mindfully eating, intuitively eating healthy is one thing, but what does that mean when you're not enjoying your food, not thanking your food, not mindfully eating, you know, not doing your six senses, which is like smell, touch, taste, feel, right? And so I've built a really healthy relationship with eating in its true core meaning, which doesn't mean buying something organic, because that to me was health, but eating intuitively, and no social media, praying for my food, eating with my husband. I'm learning to cook. I never really knew how to cook. I'm learning to cook, which I'm really excited about. I'm grocery shopping for myself. I started valuing the little things, friendships, family in a deeper level. I realized what I want to do with my social media. I think I kind of would just post to post before, and now I just want to help more people than ever with our business, with our brands, with my personal Instagram. Just in general, I just feel like there's a lot of people in need. There's a lot of people going through things in closed doors, behind closed doors, that they don't speak about. And I wanted to be the first to share. Not the first, I'm not the first person, but I wanted to take the initiative to share when life gets really difficult. I know it's extremely vulnerable. I did have some people like, don't share when you're down because then people want to see you down. But you know what? With God, nobody can kick me down. With God, it doesn't matter who is trying to plot against me. I have God and He will protect me. And I share this because I want to be able to change people's lives in a positive way. I want to be a good impact in this world. There's so much negativity in this world. There's so much negativity in more than ever before in this world. More mental health crises than ever before. More toxins in our food than ever before. More need of God than ever before. And if you know me, you know that I used to be very anti-religion. Now more than ever, we are needing to follow faith and to follow God and to follow Jesus Christ, because this world is in major need. And I want to share my experience to be able to help somebody, so someone that can relate to me. There's many people that won't, and then they'll just be like, well wishes, but I can't relate. And then there's going to be a lot of people that can relate to what I'm talking about, what I'm saying, what I'm speaking on. And I believe that if God made me go through this, it wasn't to keep it to myself. I think it was to share what happened, to share my process and to share my journey, and to be able to be a voice for the voiceless, to be able to speak on my experiences, and to be able to help people. Because in this world, what are you living for if you're not living for others? And that's kind of where I want to leave it at. And I want to really in my heart to share, if anybody is going through anxiety and depression, I want you guys to know you are not alone. When I was going through anxiety, a lot of people had told me it's something that you have to get used to and something that you're going to live with forever. And you just have to tame it. I do not believe that to be true. Anxiety is a natural feeling that we all feel. Anxiety that's more triggered by your past or your future, or not in a natural cause, can be fully eradicated from your body and from your mind, and completely. I'm a big believer in that. I heard one person say, when you say I suffer from anxiety, do not say that. Say I am experiencing anxiety. You are not anxiety. You are experiencing an emotion state of anxiety. When you start saying that you are anxiety, that it is in you, then it's a lot more difficult for you to be able to eradicate it. And I mean that anxiety that we don't need. Only the anxiety that is natural in all of us, which will save us if one day a bear is chasing us, is how people explain it, which is very true. We need anxiety, we all do. But for it to be debilitating, if you feel like you're suffering from debilitating anxiety or anything like that, I really do suggest, if you can, insurance will cover some therapies. So definitely getting therapy. There's a lot of books that helped me. One of them is The Body Keeps a Score. I read that book. It is extremely helpful. It extremely changed my mindset on anxiety and everything. So that's a really good book. I really did listen to a lot of Joe Dispenza, Jay Shetty podcast or YouTube videos. Those really helped me, and just understanding that anxiety is an emotion and not you. But it's extremely important to be working on your anxious and your mental health, because I do believe that it will reflect later along the line, sooner or later, into your physical health, because we are one. And trauma is really sometimes physically, and I think that that's truly kind of like the spiritual sense of what happened to me. In the physical sense, it was very chaotic, but overall I'm just happy to be overcoming that. And just know that if you are going through anything, you will overcome it too. For some people it might be sooner than 3 months, for some people it might be longer than 3 months, but be patient and understand that you are going through that for a reason. There is something that you need to learn, a lesson that you need to take with you, and if you keep running from it, you will not face it and you will not overcome it. You have to face whatever you are going through, and the best way to do it is with God, because He gives you the peace of knowing that you are not alone and that you too will overcome this. So I hope this helped you guys. And I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.